Hello and welcome to special transmission on the latest situation in Afghanistan. I am Jawad Tehami. The Taliban and the government officials are in negotiations for a peaceful transfer of power after fighters surrounded the capital Kabul. The acting Afghan Interior Minister said transition will happen peacefully and the security forces will ensure Kabul's security. However, the Taliban have already said they do not have the plan to take Kabul by force. Meanwhile, Afghan officials said the Bagram military base and prison holding 5,000 prisoners have been handed over to the Taliban. Russia Special Envoy to Afghanistan, Zamir Kabulov, says Moscow is working with other countries to hold an emergency UN Security Council meeting on Afghanistan. And to talk more about this situation that is unfolding in Afghanistan, we are joined by Mr. Rafiuzzaman, who is a former ambassador, and Dr. Huma Bakai, who is a political analyst. Thank you very much for your time. I'll begin with you, Dr. Huma Bakai. Couple of days before, we saw a U.S. intelligence report that said that it could be within a span time of 90 days, the Taliban could take over Kabul, and it's been just a couple of days. We have seen Taliban have besieged the capital Kabul and they have entered into negotiations at the presidential palace. How do you see the development?
I see the developments as very expected. I personally think neither the US withdrawal nor the space with which the Taliban have taken province after province in Afghanistan was unexpected. Because if you look at the documents that are now being declassified, the Taliban were in negotiations with people in these provinces for this very a takeover without resistance. Moreover, we do not have any concrete evidence, but it is being said that the complexion of the Taliban is not entirely the Pashtuns now. At least 50% are of other ethnicities, which makes it understandable why in areas which were hardcore Northern Alliance strongholds or were perceived to be anti-Taliban have fallen so easily to the Taliban. So one thing perhaps established, and that is that the Taliban are in position of power and they are exercising strategic restraint in the takeover that is going to happen now, so that they also gain international legitimacy. Because the capture of power is not very difficult for them. They've done it back in the day also. What is more important is that they have a constitutional framework, international recognition and legitimacy when they do it this time. And I think they are politically savvy enough to make sure that that happens. And that is why announcements are being made by the Taliban in Kabul that there is no need to panic. They've also said that there is, they are not going to be revengeful. Everybody can stay, and people should not pay attention to the propaganda that is being perpetuated. So I personally think that they are acting with restraint, but at the same time, I think two powers are marginalized in this entire situation, and it is India and the United States. I see Moscow and Beijing and Tehran and Islamabad playing a far important role than perhaps the United States and India. And you also see that Pakistan has kept its embassy open in Kabul. Russia has chosen to keep its embassy open in Kabul, which is indicative of the fact that they want to remain linked to the situation that is unfolding. However, the situation remains fluid. Abdullah is in negotiations with the Taliban. He's acting as a facilitator. A situation will emerge where they're saying an interim government may take over. But at the end of the day, an established fact is that tomorrow's Afghanistan will have Taliban as their political face.
Dr. Bakai, point well taken. At this point to Mr. Rafiuzzaman, what do you say about this strategic restraint that the Taliban are exhibiting at the moment? And as we saw, there were predictions earlier of 6 months that they might be able to take over Kabul, and then a recent US intelligence report saying that within 90 days. And now from that release of that report, we saw within a couple of days, they reached to the gates of the capital. And as Dr. Bakai said, that they are exhibiting the strategic restraint. Is it just to get the international legitimacy and recognition, and or do they want to have the maximum leverage if any sort of inclusive government is formed in future?
Thank you very much for having me over. And I think I would, agree with Dr. Bakai fully. The Taliban are playing their cards exceeding well. And I must say that they have shown their political, acumen. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so they have, exhibited that political acumen very, very, cleverly. And I must say that whatever the announcements are coming from Taliban as of now, they must be taken as a glad tidings, especially with regard to women and what they want to do. They do not want to take revenge. What the announcement coming from, the spokesman, Taliban spokesman from Istanbul, as I was listening, he has said that, they are going to be very, very, they are not going to take revenge. They are not going to have offered Ashraf Ghani and others that they were not going to, they were going to offer them to be a part of government. And I think all these developments are very, very positive. And I think for the time being, we must, welcome them.
Okay, Mr. Zaman, there is a recent report, the latest information that is coming in. The Afghan government sources say that an Afghan government delegation, including Abdullah, will travel to Qatar to meet with the representatives of the Taliban. And a source familiar with the matter told the international news agency that the delegation and the Taliban representatives would discuss a transition of power, adding that the U.S. officials would also be involved in that. How do you see that turning out to be? What could be expected that could be transpiring out of this particular meeting between the Afghan government delegation and the Taliban representatives with the U.S. involvement over there in Doha?
I think since Taliban have kind of, marched into Afghan, most of the cities, and especially now they are just in the outskirts of Kabul, so they will be talking from the position of strength. And I'm sure that whatever they will put down on the table will be taken seriously by Abdullah as well as by the U.S. Stakeholders there. So this is a very smart move again by Taliban, that since they have managed to reach the sensitive areas of Afghanistan, especially Kabul, like they are on the outskirts of the Kabul, so they have a leverage, and they are going to play their cards very well, I'm sure, in Doha tomorrow.
Okay, Dr. Bakai, in this situation, what sort of a future do you think President Ashraf Ghani has?
I think they're largely marginalized, because the Ashraf Ghani who is talking about, who is in talks with the Taliban as I speak to you, or is ready for an interim government, so to say, is the same Ashraf Ghani who, like maybe 4 days ago, said we're going to break their knees and so on and so forth, and fired head of the military staff, where he was in a defiant mood. But what the ground reality is what we all see, that Taliban have moved on. They could have captured Kabul by force. They chose not to. And they are going for an interim government and for a power sharing formula with the existing stakeholders. The important thing is that who is the stakeholder? Is Ashraf Ghani the face of who the Taliban are going to share the government with? I think that is $1 million question. Does Ashraf Ghani really represent the Taliban and the rest of the Kabul? I mean, we have the Taliban, and is the rest of Afghanistan represented by Ashraf Ghani? I don't know if we know that for sure. That is why they are seeking an interim government. And during this interim period, hopefully, sanity will prevail, violence on the ground will go down, because now Taliban have established their control over Afghanistan, if I may say so. So I'm hoping that violence will go down and a power sharing formula will emerge. I think one component of that is kind of established, and that is the Taliban. The component that represents the rest still needs to come forward, and we need to see who they are. And we also need to see how does this interim government moves forward. And that is where I see the role of Doha talks. I see a role for peripheral powers. I see China, Moscow playing a very important role to make sure that during this interim period, a final sort of blueprint of the kind of government Afghanistan may have will emerge, because that is extremely important. It is critical to know that this interim period will be utilized in a way where we can actually reach a power sharing formula. So what we are witnessing right now is history making, where Afghanistan is going to decide its fate. It is going to be an indigenous solution. The problem with Afghanistan has been that for the last 40 years, the solutions have been imposed. We have to see if the geo-ethnic landscape of Afghanistan, so to say, is factored in to the new power sharing formula that emerges, and do Taliban walk their talk, whether it is women's rights, whether it's constitutionalism, whether it is the imposition of the stringent ideology they usually pursue. So how flexible are the Taliban? Because that will determine whether this power sharing formula will sort of be tangible and will move forward and will be able to be translated on the ground. Because Afghanistan has also changed. The people in Afghanistan are wary of the Taliban takeover, because the memories that they have of the Taliban takeover are not very pretty. So the Taliban will also have to do a lot of confidence building measures to make sure that people are accepting of them without the use of force.
Dr. Bakai, there are a lot of points that you've just raised in the last 20 years. In fact, in the last 40 years, there were certain other things which were imposed on the Afghan people themselves. But in your earlier comments, you were of the view that the basic reason of the rapid advances of the Taliban was related to the negotiations with the other groups and the people over there in Afghanistan as well. I'll take your point over this thing as well. For now, I have to bring in Ms. Zunaira Azhar, who is a senior anchor person. She is joining us from Lahore. Zunaira, thank you very much for joining in. From last couple of days, we've been discussing this Afghanistan situation and the rapid advances the Taliban were having. And we already discussed, I'll have to come back to the same US intelligence officials report that predicted that Kabul, the capital of Afghanistan, could fall into the hands of the Taliban as early as within a span of 90 days. But it's been just 3 days from that moment when that report was released. How do you see the situation on the ground unfolding? Zunaira, can you hear me?
Not very clearly, Jawad. Can you repeat your question?
Okay, a couple of days we discussed this US intelligence officials report that predicted that the Taliban could take over the capital, Kabul, as early as in 90 days. But it's been 3 days since that report was released. How do you see this rapid advancement within a span of 3 days of the Taliban at the gates of the capital?
Well, I really think that US was trying to control the narrative through media. And when it said 90 days, the ground reality was very different from that. The reporters, the media, the local people were already telling us the rapid speed at which Taliban was entering from up, top, bottom, right, left, everywhere. And now when we see that happening, there is this sharp kind of a silence from Western media that does not tell us at all that what has happened within the span of last 3 days. So I would say that stay wary of the misinformation coming from all sides right now. What is happening on ground is only reliable when it comes to the local correspondents, which are telling us what is actually happening there. And 90 days, I don't know how, just the way we have seen the foreign policy of US being so flawed when it came to Afghanistan. It is the same kind of assessment. I don't know on what grounds the intelligence agencies of US said that it would take 90 days. I think we discussed it at length when I was with you in our last program, that the kind of political and military maneuver that Taliban have experienced, I would say, a hands-on training they had while fighting with Russia first and then with the US and NATO. They are quite a mature political entity now. And look at the way they're handling the sitting government in Kabul. I mean, the interior minister himself is saying that they are negotiating. So there is no denying of the fact if later on the news are that there was this violent takeover. It was a takeover by force. So you see a very different kind of Taliban, but that does not mean that we are not wary of the fact and we don't have the bad memories still reviving in our minds what happened in 90s. So it's a very embryonic situation, I would say. We would have to wait and see what happens. But the international community, the least they can do is worry about the humanitarian crisis that is beginning to take place over there. We still don't know when they say there are protected zones for women. What does that mean? We still don't know whether the supply chain of food is there, whether there is safety for children. So there is this huge crisis coming over. And the whole world is right now glued to their screens just to witness. Like I happened to talk to someone in UK who has served in the military as part of the NATO services. And he said, I am surprised at the way our governments have failed us. Like we laid down our lives, everything, whatever we had for 20 years, all to come to this. Everything is gone that we built over there. And with the fall of Bagram Air Base, you can imagine people who have served there and they thought they're bringing democracy to that soil, see the situation coming back in full circle. So let's wait and see how things evolve. But these are a new kind of Taliban. I hope they behave politically maturely.
Point well taken. The project of nation building and then the very narrative with which the Americans came over here to invade Afghanistan seemed elusive over the last 20 years. Your point is well taken, and it's time for a short break, and we'll continue the discussion about the situation that is developing in war-torn Afghanistan as the Taliban have reached the gates of the capital, Kabul. Zunaira Azhar, thank you for being with us. Dr. Huma Bakai, a political analyst, thank you for your time as well. And Mr. Rafiuzzzaman, former ambassador, will continue to be with us in the next segment of this special transmission. And to watch that, please stay tuned.